Stories from Parliament. Magna Carta. England, February 1215, and all is not well. Across the country, from north to south, the voices of angry barons can be heard. The cause of their anger? One man.
King John. He demands even higher taxes to pay for his futile wars in France.
And if we do not pay up, he takes what he wants. We have to find a way to stop him raising taxes whenever he chooses.
And taking our land.
Or
stealing our land.
He promised that all this would stop.
Oh, he always promises.
Well,
his promises mean nothing. We must do something to make him keep his word.
Well, we are the Baron Lords of England, yet he shows us no respect.
He can arrest us and hold us prisoner without a fair hearing. Yeah, our widowed sisters and mothers can be forced into a marriage just because the king orders it.
Our rights and freedoms should be protected by law.
Oh, King John believes he is above the rule of law. Then we must have new rules, which even a king must obey.
And it is not just the barons who believe it is time.
Where does the power to govern originate? Remember, to govern means to control. So, where does the power to control originate? That is an important question if we are going to determine how to manage that power. We need to know where it comes from. At a young age, an elephant is continually beaten until it completely submits to the trainer. It is trained to believe that power originates in the trainer. Another method for training an elephant is a little less barbaric, but has similar results. A baby elephant is tied to a large chain and stake. Try as it might, it cannot get free. Over time, it simply stops trying. As an adult, this conditioning keeps the elephant from attempting to break free from a small chain and stake. The massive 2-ton elephant could easily break free, but it doesn't. In either case, the elephant is conditioned to think that power originates in either the trainer or the chain. But does it? What would happen if the elephant suddenly changes its thinking and thinks that the power originates in the elephant? The elephant would trample the trainer. The elephant had the power to break the chain and trample the trainer all along. But its conditioning led it to think that power was in the trainer or the chain. On the other hand, the relationship between the elephant and the trainer did not turn out well when the elephant thought that the power originated in it. Elephant mentality syndrome is the thought that power originates in the trainer, the chain, or the elephant. In all cases, the result is the inability to establish lasting self-government in society. The trainer and the chain are the oppression, and the elephant is the chaos. How does this relate to the simulation? Have you seen examples of elephant mentality syndrome? You can probably see that the director is the trainer, teachers' rules are the chain, and the students are the elephants. You have probably already thought about how things would be better without the trainer or the chain. But is the answer to completely abandon the director and abolish teachers' rules? Where would that destruction stop? There will always be someone in charge and rules to follow. Perhaps there is a different way of looking at things. Maybe power originates somewhere else, and understanding that could change the way we look at government. Throughout history, every form of government was founded on the idea that power originated in the trainer, the chain, or the elephant. America was founded on a new idea. Our system was designed on the idea that power originates outside of us. As the Declaration says, we assume among the powers of the earth. The power to govern does not originate in any one of us. We assume it from nature. We are born with it, but it originates in nature and is based on the laws of nature. This idea brings about a much better state than the chaos and oppression that exists when we think power originates in the people be it a king, an oligarchy, a majority, or the individual. The architects of our system of government said, in essence, we are going to overthrow a system of government in which the people presume that all power originates in the monarch. We are going to replace it with a new form of government based on a law of nature principle. The truth, the power does not originate with government or the person or persons controlling the government. What does this mean for self-government? Remember, self-government is about relationships, our ability to govern within our relationships with each other and within society. Recognizing that one person does not have power over another, that we all have assumed power separately and equally, completely changes the way we get along in society. Because the laws of nature treat us all equally, natural law is the first thing that we all have in common. It is the first thing that unites us as one people. Gravity, for example, treats us all the exact same. We can disagree about a lot of things, but the natural law of gravity that we can all agree on. There is no arguing it that we have that in common. Let's take 3 individuals. If one person thinks that they have the power to govern the others have 2 choices, either submit or rebel. If they submit, oppression occurs. If they rebel, chaos occurs. Now, let's say that they all think that power originates in the people collectively. Under these conditions, the mob, or the majority, has the power to govern. If the 2 outvote the one is left to either submit or rebel. They have the same choices under the king, and the same results, oppression or chaos. Now, let's say they decide that the power to govern originates in each of them individually. They all make their own rules. Some rules may be the same, but there will surely be some conflicting rules too. In this case, chaos occurs. But what if they recognize that there are certain fundamental laws that already exist in nature, and that the power to govern originates in nature, and that our ability to govern ourselves should be based on natural law? Now, they start having a common starting point, a foundation that brings stability to the relationship. Now they can make their own rules for themselves. But if they base them off natural law, even if the rules are different, they're based on the same common foundation. There will still be disagreements and conflict, but at least they are all playing by the same basic rules. Now they have a society founded on their common ground, rather than a society built on enforcing their differences. A more stable society can be built simply by recognizing that the power to govern does not originate in the trainer, the chain, or the elephant. The power to govern originates in the laws of nature.
Let's talk about what self-government and liberty is. The two are very similar to each other. They both require a balance between freedom and constraint. Now, because they are achieved in similar ways, we will treat them the same in this particular explanation. We will specifically be talking about liberty, but you can replace it with self-government at any time. The first thing that we need to discuss is that liberty and freedom are not the same thing. Thomas Jefferson defined the two. He said that freedom is unobstructed action according to one's will. Freedom is your ability to do whatever you want, whenever you want to do it. Now, it does not take much thought to realize that if everyone had this kind of unobstructed freedom, it would be chaos. Liberty, Jefferson explained, is the unobstructed action according to one's will, but within the boundaries drawn around us by the liberty of others. Liberty is freedom with constraint. Based on Jefferson's definitions, there are two extremes, unobstructed freedom and what we will call confined freedom. Unobstructed freedom is a complete free-for-all. It causes chaos. Confined freedom, on the other hand, is no freedom at all. It is confining freedom so much so that it eliminates all freedom. The results of confined freedom is oppression. Liberty is the balance between the two. It is that perfect blend of unobstructed and confined freedoms. It is freedom with discipline or constraint. In Jefferson's terms, that balance can be achieved by constraining your actions within the boundaries drawn around you by the liberty of others. Your freedom stops when it begins to trample on the liberty of another person, and their freedom stops when it tramples on your liberty. So liberty is freedom with boundaries, or a balance between unobstructed freedom and confined freedom. When someone is overstepping their bounds, it is chaos in their world and oppression in yours. Chaos in theirs because they're overstepping the rules, constraints, or the boundary. Oppression in yours because when they overstep the boundary into your world, they infringe on your liberty. And it works the other way around too. When you overstep your bounds, it is chaos in your world and oppression in theirs. The challenge we face in society is identifying where that boundary and that balance is. This is a challenge because the amount of unobstructed freedom and confined freedom changes based on the subject. For example, the early colonists discovered that the freedom of religion should have almost 100% unobstructed freedom. One person's beliefs should not be confined by another's. However, when those beliefs begin to infringe on the public peace and safety, it should be confined. But because alcohol and drugs can infringe greatly on the peace and safety of others, they are restricted much, much more than religion. Once we find the perfect balance between unobstructed freedom and confined freedom, we have liberty. We have the ability to self-govern in society. As an example of finding the balance between unobstructed freedom and confined freedom, I'll take you to an activity at a Boy Scout summer camp. The activity was to build and race a simple billy cart. Now, a billy cart is a non-motorized go-kart. The plans called for a main structural board to be placed very close to the steering board. The close proximity of the two boards made the steering very limited. It confined the freedom. Virtually every one of the 10 troops, over 200 scouts and more than 40 scout leaders decided to ignore the instructions and place the structural board far from the steering board to give the cart more steering, unobstructed freedom. This decision allowed for an almost unobstructed turning capability of the go-kart. Now, I just happened to be one of the leaders in charge of this activity, and I knew from experience, I have the skinned elbows and knees to prove it, that the limited steering was necessary. Too much steering would cause the driver to overcorrect and would inevitably result in a crash. The first scout to take the test drive almost immediately lost control. He ran into an embankment and was launched squarely into a tree and dumped on the ground with a thump. It was awesome. Each scout, one after another, had the same catastrophic results. Few were traveling more than just 30 or maybe 50 feet. They quickly learned that the unobstructed freedom of turning caused them to immediately overcorrect and lose control every time. It was absolute chaos. The quick adjustment to the boards on each cart limited the steering, and within that newly confined freedom, each Boy Scout had more control over the cart because their turning was no longer unobstructed. It was confined. They traveled further and faster down the hill and without injury. The balance between unobstructed and confined freedom resulted in more fun, more liberty, less skinned elbows and knees. Unobstructed freedom by itself produces chaos. Confined freedom by itself produces oppression. Balancing unobstructed and confined freedoms and staying within a well-defined boundary produces liberty and is the best hope for equality self-government in society.